studios. This is After 9 with Scott and Kat.
Hey now! Hi friends, welcome to another episode of After 9. Today is once again a solo Scott episode. Kat is on vacation, she's in Vegas. She'll be back on Thursday. A lot has happened over the last couple of days, and before we get into it, I want to say thank you to everybody who downloaded and in particular reached out about Friday's episode. We had Franco Terrazzano on, director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, talking about everything from this new HST tax grab when you sell your house, if you've been using it as a rental property, right up to the carbon tax. Such great information, and that's somebody who's not taking any government money. That's somebody who's a taxpayer and looking out for the rest of us. So if you didn't hear Friday's episode, please go back and give it a listen. I think everybody who pays taxes in this country, and we pay way too much for the privilege of living here, I think you should hear that episode because it's very eye-opening about some of the ways that government is wasting our money. What else here? We've got, the other thing, Friday. Donald Trump, presidential candidate, he needs no intro. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast on Friday, and I've had a chance to watch a little bit of it. That was a really great interview. We really need politicians to do interviews with responsible media. And I know that there's some people who might say, well, Joe Rogan's not responsible media. Yeah, I mean, if you don't like the guy, you probably think that. But regardless, he's got the biggest podcast on the planet, and a lot of people get their information from him, just like people get information from us here on After 9. Let me play a little bit of Joe's conversation, a 3-hour conversation with President Trump.
So I always got more publicity than other people, and it wasn't like I was trying. In fact, I don't know exactly why. Maybe you can tell me why.
Oh, I could definitely tell you. You said a lot of wild shit.
Maybe.
You said a lot of wild shit, and then CNN, in all their brilliance, by highlighting your wild shit, made you much more popular.
Yeah.
And they boosted you in the polls because people were tired of someone talking in this bullshit, pre-prepared politician lingo. And even if they didn't agree with you, they at least knew whoever that guy is, that's him. That's really him. Yeah. When you see certain people talk, certain people in the public eye, you don't know who they are. You have no idea who they are. It's very difficult to know. You see them in conversations. They have these pre-planned answers. They say everything. It's very rehearsed. You never get to the meat of it. One of the beautiful things about you is that you freeball. Like, you get out and you do these huge events and you're just talking and you're making. We've highlighted you on the show many times when you did this Biden impression where he's walking around, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's funny. It's stand up. It's funny stuff. But it's like you and you were making fun of Elon one time. You were doing an Elon impression. It's great. You have like comedic instincts. Like when you.
So I'll leave it at that. If you want to go back and listen to Joe's interview with President Trump, by all means, go and listen to it. The one takeaway I took from it is, politicians need to do interviews, and they always used to. Some of them good, some of them bad. And for whatever reason, politics now just has to be so rehearsed, and it's so frustrating because we never actually get to hear what that politician is all about. Give me an hour with Justin Trudeau. Let me ask him a couple of questions that Canadians would like answered. I would love that opportunity. Get Doug Ford in here for a little bit. I want to ask Doug some questions too. It'll be a different kind of interview for sure, but I think that it would be very beneficial to these politicians to do more interviews like Joe did with President Trump. It would probably help Kamala Harris out a little bit. I know there's some who think that she'd probably get crushed by Joe. I don't see it that way, and I don't think Joe would be out to do that. I think he just wants answers that so far no members of the media have been able to get out of her. And I think it would do wonders for her. And her relatability, her likability, her popularity, if she sat down and did an interview too. I doubt it's going to happen because the U.S. election is now just over a week away. A week from tomorrow is when America is going to vote. It's weird, man. It's really hard to gauge what's going on. If you watch Fox News, it looks like President Trump is cruising toward a pretty convincing victory. If you watch CNN, it's very close. It's going to be a down-to-the-wire decision. If you watch MSNBC, they might as well cancel it now because Kamala's going to win. So political bend, being influenced by polls or influencing polls, maybe it's polls to serve the narrative that network wants to create. I don't know what the real answer is, but I do know that it was surreal yesterday to see a Republican, Donald Trump, sell out Madison Square Gardens for a rally. Downtown New York City. Madison Square Garden was completely full of Republicans that wanted to hear Donald Trump and his message. It was kind of a shit show, to be honest with you. I mean, I couldn't watch much of it because it was a hot mess at times. Let me play just a little bit of this for you.
Welcome to the house that Hulkamania built. You know something? Usually when I'm in Madison Square Garden, I'm body slamming giants. I'm winning world heavyweight titles, and I'm cracking people over the heads with steel chairs. And the energy in Madison Square Garden is off the Richter scale. But today, Trumpomaniacs, the energy...
I mean, come on. I like Hogan just as much as the next guy, but we're trying to have a serious conversation here about important issues. We're trying to talk about saving economies and protecting borders and preserving a woman's right to choose and all these other things. And I just feel like that probably didn't help that much, but who knows? What do I know? Maybe it did help. Either way, the election is a week from tomorrow, and the polls are all over the place. But if I had to guess, I would say that right now it seems like most of the momentum is going Donald Trump's way. But we'll find out in just over a week, or will we? Hopefully America doesn't have problems like we seem to be having here in Canada. In British Columbia, they are still counting votes. In BC, they still haven't finished counting the ballots from last weekend's election. This does not look good here, everyone. It does not look good at all. Reports say some BC elections officials were allowed to take ballot boxes home with them. What is it they're still counting? Apparently, it is mail-in and phone-in votes. We have phone-in votes? And how do you count those? And these mail-in votes, where did they all come from? Apparently, the number of them keeps increasing. They keep finding more. And this, as just one or two seats, is the difference between a minority and a majority government for whichever government happens to form power in BC. Is something sinister going on here, or is it pure and unadulterated incompetence from BC elections? Probably a little bit of both. I don't know that anything necessarily sinister is going on, but it's certainly not a good look. At a time when people have such little faith in the mainstream media and they have such little faith in the integrity of our elections, for those optics to be out there, i.e. we're still counting ballots a week later, and they are still counting. And more ballots seem to be coming up that we didn't know about before. It's not a good look for Canadian elections. It's not a good look for the country that likes to go around the world telling other people how they should hold their elections and how democracy should work. So, not my pig, not my farm. Whatever BC decides to do is totally up to them. Today, Saskatchewan might make an interesting choice. Today, they're voting in Saskatchewan. Premier Scott Moe leads the Saskatchewan Party. They've been in power for 17 years. Polls say the NDP is very competitive in this race. In fact, they might even win it and return to government for the first time since 2007. Would Saskatchewan go NDP? Hard to say. New Brunswick voted Liberal just last week as well. They went in a Liberal direction. It'd be real weird if the federal Conservatives are still dominating in the polls, cruising toward a massive majority government, but then provinces start going with more progressive governments. It's always strange how politics works in this country, but either way, the Saskatchewan election today, good luck to everybody involved. And the BC election, you guys better figure your stuff out because this is not a good look. Meanwhile, today is a big day for the Prime Minister. He's got a couple of big deadlines and a couple of things that are looming over his head. Today is the deadline that he was given by members of his own caucus to step down and get out of the way. 24 Liberal MPs want the guy gone, and they gave him until today to make up his mind. Well, he made up his mind on Friday or Thursday even. He announced, nope, he's staying in the race. He says he's the only one that can deliver the Liberals to the promised land of another election. I don't know if that's going to change much with the party. They seem to not like the guy. They seem to really have it in for him, and they want him to go. So I don't know if Trudeau's going to come out and do an announcement today. I don't know if those other MPs that don't want him there, if they're going to come out and announce that they're resigning or they're quitting caucus or whatever. But it's an interesting time, especially with the other deadline looming. This one is for tomorrow. The Bloc Québécois gave Prime Minister Trudeau until tomorrow to pass two pieces of legislation that they want passed in order for them to support the government and not let them fall and trigger an election. Bloc leader Yves-François Blanchet said his party is going to start talking to opposition parties about toppling the minority government if legislation to increase old age security for seniors and bolster supply management are not passed. It's still shocking to me that parties that didn't really get a lot of votes in the last election are holding the government hostage for billions and billions and billions of dollars for their pet projects. What's more disturbing is the government goes along with this just to stay in power. How much of our money is this government willing to spend to keep themselves in government and living life pretty high on the hog, enjoying all of the things that they get as perks when they are in power? I guess we'll find out tomorrow. There's no reason to believe that the government is going to pass those two bills today or tomorrow. So I would think that we're going to be in a situation today where Liberals, the 24 of them, are furious. And then tomorrow, the opposition is going to be furious. And where this could all be leading to is an election. As you know, if the Liberals lose a confidence vote, that would mainly be a money bill, unless it's explicitly a vote of non-confidence, then we have an election. The government is compelled to go and visit the Governor General, ask for Parliament to be dissolved, and drop a writ, which is what would bring on the next election. Speaking of the Prime Minister, another thing hanging over his head is something that happened yesterday on CTV's Power Play. Vashi Kapelos was talking to the one of the higher-ups at the RCMP. I don't remember his name, but I'm going to let him explain here what's going on as far as now an investigation into the government is concerned by the police.
I don't want to say the gold standard, but we are always investigating with the objective of laying charges.
Are you investigating what went on at the SDTC? Because a couple of months ago, the RCMP offered one answer, and then it seems as though lately there is an investigation. Are you investigating?
So I can confirm that we are investigating.
Wow. RCMP confirms they are investigating.
And we're going, we did receive the motion that was put forth in the House of Commons. We did receive a USB key that we have stored for the moment.
Ooh, wait a second. There's a USB key. What's on this USB? What's on the drive? I think Canadians would like to know. And I know they're not going to tell us that right now, especially if they're confirming that an investigation is underway. That's weird, though, about a USB key. What document is on there? What does it prove? Who does it implicate? Again, that's like a third day in a row. Make some popcorn, everybody, because it's about to get real interesting in Ottawa. One of the things that I want to spend a little bit of time talking about here on the pod today, though, is something that happened yesterday. On a quiet Sunday morning in Etobicoke, Premier Ford came out and made an announcement that I thought probably should have been prime time. Listen to this.
The plan also includes initiatives to put money back into your pockets instead of the government's pocket. Because while inflation and interest rates have come down a bit in recent weeks, the high cost of groceries, gas, and housing, along with the federal government's carbon tax, continue to squeeze the budgets of families and businesses right across this province. Friends, Minister Lecce mentioned the carbon tax. It's a terrible, terrible tax. It's a terrible policy. It now adds 17.6 cents to every liter of gas you purchase, and it's set to increase again on April the 1st, 2025 to 20.9 cents per liter, bumping up the cost of everything once again, It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's crazy, by the way, that we're paying that much money per liter when we get gas. Absolutely astounding. And again, you can go back to Friday's episode and listen to Franco from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation talk about the carbon tax, how much it's going up, and how much of an impact that's having. Actually, spoiler alert, he says it's not having any impact at all, really, on the environment. So there's that. The Premier did announce he's extending the gas tax cut until at least next summer. This is something that he put into place back in July 2022, and it has continuously been extended. Looks like it's going to go right into 2025. It costs us a heck of a lot of money. The province is losing a lot of tax revenue by not doing that, but it's something to help keep the prices somewhat affordable during this time of unaffordability. But here's the part that I really want to focus on, a little tidbit right at the end of this speech. Listen to this.
People in Ontario work hard for their paychecks, and we know that every dollar helps. That's why we're on a relentless mission to save people money. We eliminated roll tolls on the 412, 418. We scrapped the license plate sticker fee, saving the average household about $600 to date. We scrapped the tolls, again, on the 412 and 418, as I mentioned, and we're looking to scrap some other tolls in the very near future. Just stay tuned.
Are we getting ready to cut tolls in Ontario? Or is that what's going on here? That was a bit of a cryptic message, but holy cow, if that's what's going to happen here, then bring it on. We've been calling for this for a long time. You got to cut the tolls on the 407. The 407 is a necessary highway for a lot of people that are currently forced with a choice. Either pay $50 to get home from work at a reasonable time or sit in bumper-to-bumper traffic for an hour and a half and miss your kid's hockey game or softball game or whatever. It's an impossible choice for so many families to make. The 407 is bankrupting some people who are forced to take it. The people who are taking it are either rich or they've got work paying for it. I can't see too many people that are in a tough situation financially taking that highway unless they absolutely need to. This is critical infrastructure in Ontario, and I really, really hope that the government is going to move on this. We either buy back the 407 and make it no or low toll until it's paid off, or the other option is just tell the 407, if you want to keep this highway, you've got to return rates to reasonable levels. I would love to read that 407 agreement. I don't believe that we signed a carte blanche agreement with some foreign entity to take over our highway and just charge whatever the hell they feel like. There's no way we were stupid enough to sign a deal that we can't get out of and we can't control how much the tolls are. So good on Doug Ford for taking this on. I'm glad that this is happening. I'm really optimistic that maybe something good is going to come of this. But either way, something's got to give, because we can't have people in bumper-to-bumper traffic for hours on the 401 every day when the 407 is wide open just a few kilometers further north. It's asinine, it's frustrating, and it's not fair to the taxpayers whose money built that highway. And I include myself as one of those. Another thing that came out of the province is from the tourism minister, Stan Cho. I don't know Stan. I'd like to know Stan, though. It seems like Stan might even be a listener of After 9. Let me tell you why. The tourism minister says a major amusement park is part of Ontario's grand vision to turn Niagara into Las Vegas North. Well, that's almost verbatim what we said they should call it. Marineland, though, that's not part of the bill. Stan Cho says his ministry has not spoken to Marineland, which is currently for sale and sits on 1,000 acres of land just a short distance from the Horseshoe Falls. Cho says the province wants to see in Niagara more casinos, fine dining, hotels, and mass transit in an effort to boost tourism. Marineland says they're up for sale, but so far we haven't heard anything about anybody potentially wanting to buy it. Marineland has been the center of controversy for years now. The Ministry of the Solicitor General involved in a 4-year-long probe of Marineland over the death of various marine mammals. Now, Marineland said the deaths are part of the cycle of life. They defended their treatment of animals, and I have no reason to doubt them. I don't know anybody at Marineland. I haven't been there in years. They say they're taking good care of the animals. whether they are or aren't, I believe the people that work there care deeply about the animals, and I'm sure that they're just as broken up as anybody else when they hear that one of the animals has died. Do we need marine land as part of a revamped Niagara Falls? I don't know. I've been saying for a long time they should move Wonderland out of Vaughan to Niagara Falls and just make it the attraction it could be. When you think of all the things that are there now, and then you throw in some fine dining restaurants and you throw in a couple more hotels and a casino or two, and bam, you got yourself a mini Vegas North. I think that this is a worthwhile project. I'm glad to see that we're making a little bit of progress on this. So good luck to the province as they try to reimagine Niagara Falls. I don't know how long it'll take or what the timeline is or if anybody's even got a deal in place yet, but let's do it. Let's make Niagara Las Vegas North. And I'm saying that out of frustration because my co-host is in Las Vegas right now, whereas she could have been in Niagara doing the podcast with me today. Let's keep going here.
Imagine our grandmothers. Imagine what they feel right now. Those who have lived to see this historic day. Even those who are no longer physically with us. Imagine all of their sacrifice. The sacrifices made so we can witness the strength of a woman standing in her power. Reimagining what leadership is. For all the men and women in this room and watching around the country, we need you. Your voice has power and magnitude. Your vote is one of the most valuable tools, and we need you. Your freedom is your God-given right, your human right.
That's a little bit of Beyonce speaking at a Kamala Harris rally this past weekend. Some people pretty upset about this, some calling it a bait and switch. Beyonce, well promoted as going to be at Kamala's rally on the weekend. And it was in Texas. It made a lot of sense. Beyonce's from Texas. And there was a rumor, possibly started by the Kamala Harris campaign, definitely perpetuated by the media, that Beyonce was going to perform. Nope. She came out. She gave like a 5-minute speech, and that was it. She left. Reports say she got paid $10 million to endorse Kamala Harris, and she didn't even perform. Not one song. No single ladies, no halo, no nothing. No performance. People were so mad they got up and left because they were led to believe that Beyonce was going to perform, and she didn't. She came out and gave a speech, and that led to boos for the Democratic candidate. Beyonce at a Kamala Harris rally. You know, when I look at the list of celebrities that are lining up to endorse Kamala Harris, there's a theme. There's a bit of a theme, you know, from Beyonce to Leonardo DiCaprio, and the list goes on and on and on. You should take a look at the list of celebrities that have endorsed Kamala Harris. They all seem to have something in common, and that something seems to be they're caught up in the rumors surrounding Diddy. What's going on with the Diddy situation, by the way? I would have thought by now somebody would have given us a little more information about what's in these indictments or what some of the details are in these lawsuits that are getting filed against Diddy. I know Kat's real connected on this issue, so when she gets back, we will have a full update unless something blatant comes down in the next couple of days. How's my time here? Okay, good. Got time for something else? Good. I want to talk about Halloween for a second here because, hey, it's Halloween week. A lot of people dressed up this past weekend. It's always weird with Halloween being in the middle of the week. I really do think we got to get to a place where we just celebrate Halloween on the final Saturday or the final Friday of October. It won't really make a difference other than it'll be a heck of a lot more convenient for parents, for kids, for schools, and for businesses who happen to have Halloween attractions on. So, I mean, I think we should go that route. I don't know that any government is ever going to take up that issue, but it's something that I think we should consider. If you go out next weekend, sure, you could, but technically Halloween will be over. Pumpkins will all be starting to rot, and I would think that there's probably going to be some people out there who next weekend are going to be thinking about when to put up their Christmas tree. So, hey, however you're doing, it's great, but I think this past weekend was the main weekend for Halloween. New poll was done, and they seem to do this one every year. Should there be an age limit on trick-or-treating? Part of the reason this came up this year is because a township in New Jersey called Upper Deerfield is in the news for setting an age limit on trick-or-treating. 12 years old. They say after 12, 13 and older, no more trick-or-treating. Who the hell are these people? No trick-or-treating after 12 years old? That's a little young. A poll was done. 5,000 people took the survey about how old is too old to trick-or-treat. Most people said somewhere in your teen years. 43% said somewhere between 13 and 16 is when you should stop trick-or-treating. 16 or older was the most common answer. Then it was 13 at 14%. Some people think the cutoff should be even younger. Why are we doing this? Why? Halloween is a time-honored tradition here in Canada, and I know that not everybody participates. In fact, it seems like, anecdotally, every year, less and less and less kids are going around trick-or-treating. Maybe it was COVID that skewed the numbers a little bit. I don't know. I'm not sure what to expect this year. In fact, there's a 60% chance of rain in the forecast in Ontario for Thursday. So here's hoping that doesn't happen, because trick-or-treating in the rain is never fun. But back to the age question. If you come to my door and you look like a teenager, I have no problem with that. I'd much rather you go out on Halloween in a costume, if you can, and knock and do the trick-or-treat thing and collect up some candy and chips for yourself than be out in the neighborhood screwing around getting into mischief. That we don't want. That goes on a lot of other nights a year. I'm good with teenagers going out trick-or-treating. To me, I don't think we should be putting a limit on this. It should be up to the individual. I'm also aware that there's some people who look like they're in a teenager's body, but they're actually, capacity-wise, much younger. And I don't want to judge anybody at the door. If you come to the door on Halloween and push the button, I'm going to give you candy or I'm going to give you chips. And I hope that most people do. Halloween shouldn't be a confrontational thing. This came to my attention a couple of years ago when someone pointed out that there are people with sensory issues. There's people who are on the autism spectrum and many other examples of they don't like to be questioned about their costume or have to jump through hoops to get candy. I know some people get a kick out of trick or treat, do a trick. And then very few kids want to do that these days, particularly ones that struggle with things like Halloween. So let's be kind this coming Thursday. Let's not judge anybody who comes to the door. If somebody comes to the door and they're not in a very good costume or a costume that you think could have been better, I'm going to ask you to please keep it to yourself, because there's a lot of different reasons that a kid may not be in a costume. I'm good with it. If they want to go out and trick or treat, let them. I used to love doing that when I was a kid, and I'm sure you did too, and I don't want to ruin that tradition. So let's not be judgy this year on Halloween, and I certainly don't think we need to set an age limit for trick or treating. If you're a little older and you want to go out and trick or treat and still participate, by all means. Big fan, though, of the folks that have a little something there for the parents, too. It was a couple of years I took my kids out, and there were parents in their garage throwing out cans of beer to the moms and dads that wanted to take a traveler through the neighborhood. I thought that was great. Some places give out little airplane bottles of liquor. Yeah, I mean, not that I think it needs to be a big drinking occasion, but yeah, a little treat for the parents. That's good, too. So however you're doing it, great. Thursday is the big day. Speaking of going door to door, my doorbell rang yesterday. Girl Guides. Hey, hello. We're here selling cookies. That's great. Girl Guides have been selling cookies for years. I don't know when this changed, or maybe I just haven't answered the door when the Girl Guides came in previous years, not recently anyway, because the last time I bought Girl Guide cookies, a little girl knocked on the door. Do you want to buy Girl Guide cookies? And I said, sure. How much? And they were $3 a box, or 2 boxes for $5. Now they're $6 a box. How long has that been going on? I don't want to sound cheap. I know I sound cheap. I know I sound cheap here. But $6. I was at the grocery store an hour earlier, and a box of cookies was $3, and that was like Dare or Mr. Christie. The Girl Guide cookies are $6 a box now, and I still bought it. I didn't question it. I didn't give this little girl who couldn't have been any more than 6 or 7 years old, I didn't give her any grief about it. I just sucked it up and handed her the money, and I told her to keep the change because you know what? It's good. I want to support a young female entrepreneur. But $6 a box, Jesus, they're not that good. I like Girl Guide cookies just as much as the next guy, but for $6, holy cow. Hopefully that money helps out a lot of Girl Guides and lets them have a great experience in camp. Hey, we're at time already, so I'm going to roll. And as you know, there's a lot going on today. I heard a rumor that there's a news conference on Parliament Hill where it may name some of the names of the 13 so-called traitors in Ottawa. We'll see how the day plays out. No matter what, I will have another Solo Scott episode of After 9 for you tomorrow. In the meantime, feel free to go back and listen to some of the archives or check out that Trump interview on Joe Rogan's podcast. It was really good. Have yourselves a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.